Hello, and this is a tutorial on how to replace both the brake pads and the shocks, whatever they're called, in the rear of the 2003 Acura MDX. Now, first thing to note is that's your jack position. I'll get back to you after we take the tire off. As far as lawyers are concerned, it's for entertainment purposes only. Tools I used in this video are a bunch of wood to prop up a jack, a massive jack that wasn't massive enough, a smaller jack, really optional. I used it to wiggle around the shock to get it out, a tire iron, of course, a flathead to pry things out, this toolkit that you can rent from Advanced Auto Parts for free. They just charge you, and then once you return it, you get all your money back. Of course, a socket set. And I had to use this to compress one part, which you'll see in the video. Oh, and of course, a cheater bar. Pads are also great to have. One thing to note is you're going to need a very tall jack. I had to build this thing to get this jack, which I borrowed from a neighbor because this one wasn't tall enough to get this off. So, to note. Now, to remove the brake pad, you just need to get a number 12 millimeter and just put it right there and undo only that one. In order to get the struts off, I believe you need to get a number 18 and put it and unloosen that and loosen underneath right here. I had to make a correction. I had to actually get a 17, not an 18. Sorry. One thing to note, before you start doing anything with the brakes, it is wise to take off the cap for the brake fluid. Don't take it all the way off, just make it off enough that air can get in. Now that I got the bolt out, the bottom bolt, what people have recommended is just to take this and just have it up there like that while you're working. Remove those old pads. Another thing to note is if you can't get them out, you can use a screwdriver and just gently wiggle them out. It shouldn't take much pressure. Okay, the new pads are in. Now you need to compress this caliper, so let it go down. The reason why you opened up the brake fluid is, I don't know if it's needed for this car, but I was told previously that to make it so it would compress, and actually compress, not without breaking something, you need to have that so the pressure can be released as you're squeezing it. Now, I went to Advanced Auto Parts and got one of these things. It's everything you need in order to basically compress brake pads. I just opened it upside down. MDX is the only tool you need. Those are for newer cars that have the brake pad, the brake caliper combined with the emergency brake, and you need to ratchet them to close it. But for the MDX, this is all you need. And what you do, I've already used it just to make sure. So what you do is you first you have to get it small enough to fit in. Then you put it in like right where the brake pad is, and you just start rotating it until it presses that caliper in to the point where it'll come back down. And that is really all it takes to replace the brake pads. Now on to the shocks. Now I just had to work a little harder to get this thing to compress as well. So I did it with my hands, but you might need to get some kind of clamp. And you just put the bolt back in. and then use your ratchet to tighten it. Brake pads replaced. Now, I probably should have replaced this rotor, but it looked good enough to me. Or at least had it turned, as they call it. Now, in order to get this ratcheted off, I had to go find a cheater bar. So, yeah. One thing someone recommended was to get a jack or something to hold it up while you're getting the shock off. So, I'm trying that. Okay, spraying with the jack was pointless. What you need to do is once you get it all loose, is just put constant pressure on it and it will slowly compress. You have to be pretty strong for this. So I'm going to have to use both hands. I also had to put right here where the shock was, I had to jam a screwdriver in between and twist it just to get it loose enough to come off. Okay, the trick I figured out to get the new shock in is put it against something soft, like wood, and just compress it with your body weight all the way. Here, 2 hands. And then once it's compressed, I'm going to use my right hand for this, quickly move it in so it's on there. And then guide it up. Snap, I didn't do that. You have to guide it up into there. And watch it force its way in. Then you take, that's probably what the jack's for. Holding that up slightly so the screw comes back in. I had to fidget with the jack to get the screw in. First push it up with the jack to get the screw in halfway, then let it go to get into the other hole. So that actually was helpful. I'd recommend that. And down here, just put your washer back on and your nut, and just tighten it back up. That was easy. I can see why there's no instructions out there for this. Make sure to use your cheater bar to get it back on to the same tightness as it was before. On the other side. Just repeat what you did on the other side. Since I missed using this tool, yes, on the other side, you just put it in here. Let me get it tight enough so I can do it one-handed. There we go. And tight like that, and just tighten it so it compresses the caliper. That's all you do. Real simple. Okay, so I was unable to get that piece to, this piece right here to compress properly, so I'm going to use one of these. Works like a charm. Make sure to put your brake fluid back on. There. From buying the stuff to getting cleaned up enough to drive it, 2 hours. That's how much it took me, a person who never done it before. Thank you for watching. Aren't they great cars? Also be careful.